Dan, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Brandon?
So good, dude. Good to have you. Good to have you. It's been a while.
No, yeah, I was pumped to chat again.
So, since the last time we talked, which has been multiple months, things move extremely fast here. And so I know there's a lot that you guys have been building or currently building, a lot that you have on the horizon. And so let's just kind of jump into it. Like over the past couple months, in conversations that you've been having with merchants, what's pushed you to build what you're building, and then walk us through a little bit more on what that looks like.
Yeah, no, it's been really exciting and fun to continue to help merchants out with their reverse logistics problems or challenges that they have. Since we first chatted, we had been working with like kind of two big pain points that returns introduce to merchants. The first is administrative burden. So actually physically receiving the item, opening the item, making sure it is what it is, and then refurbishing it so it can be sold again. Whether refurbishment is as simple as putting it back into a dust bag or as complicated as like steaming, washing out stains or whatnot, that is a huge pain that we started to help more merchants with. The second pain that returns cause for merchants is this buildup of inventory that can't be sold like new. And we talked about this a little bit last time, where we have the ability now to ingest returns, look at product images or pictures that customers take upon return processing, and give loose gradings from the get-go on whether or not it would be able to be refurbished. And so as we've built that out, we've actually seen a lot of interest in our ability to help liquidate like out of season or returned items that have become out of season, or returned items that just end up being B or C grade product or whatnot. And so we've kind of got these two products that connect to the rest of the platform simultaneously building at rapid rates. And one is the ability to make the processing of a return, a physical return, more efficient by identifying from the get-go whether or not it's worth refurbishing, and then make the liquidating of the B or C items more efficient by getting the process kicked off immediately. So because of that, we've been investing a lot in our AI agents that can ingest what a merchant's definition of A, B, or C is. We've invested a lot in just streamlining the re-commerce motions and then making the whole physical processing of a return much more efficient for our merchants. So a lot going on. It's primarily in the physical space.
That's
And yeah, go ahead.
No, that's what I was gonna say is what you're building is a piece of what Redo does, but it's the physical side of it where a lot of what's being built by Jordan on the returns portal is a lot of software that helps navigate it. But then on your end, once that return gets processed and is now sitting back in the warehouse, there's still a pain in the warehouse with the inventory that's sitting there, or inventory that hasn't been moved, or it comes back broken, or it comes back with stains, like you said. Then what? And based on your conversations, would you say that a lot of merchants have a solution for that currently, or do you feel like that's kind of like they're just eating the cost?
Yeah, this has been the challenging thing, both from the merchant and from our perspective, is, we help merchants create the return policy, and then we're helping them now get into the physical world and process the returns. But there's this hidden cost of returns that merchants are sometimes unwilling to admit they're incurring. And as we're trying to help them capture as much value out of those returns as possible, it can create sometimes a difficult conversation where merchant and their team have to come together and admit, like, yes, we're actually deteriorating the value of our item weekly, every week that goes by where we don't process the return. So what's been validated is I estimate about half of our merchants, while they have a return policy, they're not doing anything with them. In fact, just last night was on a phone with a merchant who admitted to having 700 units that have accumulated over the past month just sitting in their warehouse. And it gets to a point where it's so overwhelming that she also admitted they end up just chucking it because it's
Yeah,
easier to do that.
yeah. So walk us through then, I guess, what's next steps for that particular merchant, right? So instead of taking the 700 units and just taking it as a sunk cost and throwing that away and trying again later, how are you able to then jump in and solve that issue? What do you do with those 700 units?
Yeah. So what we do is we have them send them to one of our return centers that are operating throughout the states right now. As soon as we receive them, we open, validate the item, we get it in a presentable format. So if it needs to be folded again, tags need to put back on. Our goal, though, is to get it back to stock so that it can be sold again. And the quickest way for us to do that is actually refulfill from our own warehouses. And so what we'll do is, instead of those 700 items sitting there, we have a staff that will instantly go through them in a couple days, like we were talking about last time. We'll put it to stock, and then anytime an order comes in, they effectively have a second fulfillment center or an additional fulfillment center where we can go take that item and uncapture some or unlock some cash from the merchant. By the way, what's really interesting about that is we've had quite a few merchants who have said, hey, like, we love that you're refulfilling our returns. Can you just fulfill all of our items? Can you not only fulfill our returned items that are refurbished, but can we just send you our stock straight from the manufacturer and you just be our primary fulfillment center? And what's cool is because of our OMS tool, we're like uniquely positioned to help in a different way than maybe another returns provider might be able to help. And so this whole like returns processing, refurbishment, refulfillment then turns in an opportunity to just fulfill everything for the merchant. And so those are the kinds of conversations we're having, like with that merchant I was talking about.
Yeah, that's incredible. And that leads me to my next question, even of like, as Redo builds a bunch of different products, right? You've mentioned how you already work hand in hand with Jordan and what he's building on the return side. You already work with Suze on what's being built on OMS and fulfillment and shipping and us being able to print labels. Is that intentional? Like, what does your roadmap look like as far as building cross product and in a way to build cohesively with other GMs?
Yeah, it is. It's intentional, though there has been a lot of tailwinds from unintentional like synergies, I guess, from all these different products we have. So I would say the intentional part is this: like when you look at what return software is doing, it's helping solve a logistical nightmare. And really, at the highest core or at the highest level, what we're doing is solving logistics problems. It starts with reverse logistics, but then when you get into reverse logistics, you're like, that's the same thing on the forward fulfillment or forward logistics that we need to solve for. And so I think the beauty of what we're building here is everything is so similar in nature, where we're just trying to make the e-commerce merchants' businesses easier to operate. And the hardest part about operating an e-commerce business can often be the logistics.
It's the stuff that the merchant doesn't want to talk about, like you said,
Exactly.
right? It's a conversation they themselves don't want to have, but it's still a problem that needs to be solved. And I think you in particular probably know this better than most at Redo is as we talk to merchants, we just continue to uncover these issues that they're having and pains that they're feeling. And then more often than not, we're like, hey, Dan, can you go figure this one out for us? Right. And I think that's kind of what pushed you a little bit more towards reverse logistics is we have the majority of our merchants running through our return software. And it kept coming up that there was just more on the back end once the return was processed that needed to be solved. And so we kind of like threw you at that and said, hey, go figure this out. And now here we are coming through that with incredible solutions where we're able to go and manage everything, even post return, to still allow them to make some of that money back instead of just completely tossing it in as a sunk cost.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Again, the goal is to unlock cash from the inventory. Like you cannot succeed if you can't turn your inventory into cash. And there are so many broken steps along the way that are hard to overcome as a merchant, where we're just giving them the tools to overcome those.
Very cool. Very cool. So are there any other products, I guess, that you're working hand in hand in? Is there like on the IMS side with what Will's building or anything along those lines that I guess is on the roadmap currently or what you're working towards this month?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. First, in order to allow us to streamline the liquidation of B and C grade inventory for merchants, we've had to do a lot with our product catalog and build a product catalog that instantly connects to different liquidation channels, whether it's the store's Shopify channel or an eBay account or a Poshmark account or a Mercari account or a whatnot account. We're doing a lot there that also dovetails with our IMS solution, where merchants can then leverage that and say, hey, Redo is using this to help us liquidate the B and C stock, but I've got some like stale A stock that I'm just going to try to liquidate through the same channel. So that's been really cool. Another thing that we're working on that we're really excited about is leveraging our return centers to help merchants cut down even further on label costs. So what I mean by that is when I say about half of our merchants don't have a return process in place, what I mean is they're kind of like wasting a lot of energy getting the item back, especially if it ends up going in the trash. So our first pitch is like, let us help you get cash out of those returns and let us process them for you and let us get those back in stock for you. But in the event the merchant just doesn't want to or has a product that is incredibly difficult to refurbish, what we're doing is creating a model where we can have those items sent regionally for either donation or destruction. So the cost of the label is a lot cheaper, but also it allows the merchant to recover some tax benefit through writing off and destroying the item. So then these same return centers that we're using for most of our merchants to refurbish, refulfill, and then forward fulfill new stock, we can also use to just consolidate and either destroy or consolidate and send back to a different location to make return processing more efficient.
That's, yeah, incredible. Do you have like a brand off the top of your head or an example of someone who's using these processes and the impact that it's had for them?
Yeah, so we have several right now. The first one that comes to mind is compressionsock.com. So what's unique about them is they are a drop shipper. So they have about 6 or 7 different brands. They sell a lot of volume online, but their return process is so complicated because when a return comes in, they then have to sort and consolidate and send back to the vendors in a regular cadence. And so what we've been able to do is set up different locations near where their vendors are located so that we can aggregate those items, put them together, and save both Redo and the merchant on shipping costs when they're coming back. They love it. They have one point of contact with all of the returns processes, and it's Redo. And then yeah, we have a couple other really big ones that I don't want to name yet, but we're fully operational with, and we are providing hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquidation benefit to them on the regular right now, as well as processing tens of thousands of returns for them. But it just makes sense to consolidate all the solutions into one provider.
Very much so. Very much so. I feel like a lot of the industry is heading that direction. It's amazing to see it happening like right in front of our eyes from like front to back on everything returns related as well as everything else that's being built. That's very cool. As we had, I mean, we're coming up at the end of the year, right? 2026 just around the corner. You've talked a little bit about some of the things you're most excited being built right now, but walk me through. We're sitting in these seats again next year, Dan. It's December 20th, 2026. What are you most excited that you have accomplished or have built, or what's like on the roadmap that gets you really out of bed and fired up to go and build stuff?
Yeah, so right now the biggest hesitation for a merchant to use our return center is what I started with. It's cost. We charge anywhere from $2.50 to $4 a return to process the return, make it happen. That can be hard for merchants to stomach when the cost of the returns are hidden right now. So I would argue by paying us $3 to $4 to process the return, it's probably about half what the merchant is paying when you talk about all the labor, all the space in the warehouse, and the deteriorating value of the merchandise just sitting on the shelves. But what we've been thinking a lot about is how then can we create a network where we just remove the cost entirely for the merchant to get their returns refurbished and back in stock. And what we'll be talking about next year at this time is these return centers. There will be 5 of them placed throughout the US where returns are being consolidated for many merchants, but for others we'll be doing refurbishment and refulfillment. What I'm getting at is because of that network we're going to be able to build, the returns labels cost will come down so much that we'll be able to offer refurbishment and refulfillment for near free, because we can take the benefits of the label's savings and swivel that into the processing of the return. The hope is a year from now, not only does Redo become a free solution for the merchant software wise, but we become the most economical solution. We become a free solution for processing and refurbishing returns, and also become the primary source for fulfilling new orders. Let me say this entirely one more time, okay? Next year at this time, we're going to be talking about how Redo's return centers are strategically placed in a way where we're able to offer free refurbishment, and we will make our money through fulfillment of those returns. What's exciting about that is it's going to unlock another opportunity where we can have fulfillment by Redo, whereby an e-commerce merchant can send us all of their inventory, not just returns, and have that fulfilled through the Redo network of warehouses placed throughout the US. So where it's starting with a network of return centers to help with consolidation, that savings that we'll provide will be able to roll into refurbishment and refulfillment. And that lays the groundwork for us to do forward fulfillment on all orders. So Redo can finally be the single solution to cover all logistical problems from software to physical distribution.
I love it. You pair that with OMS and WMS that's being built. You pair it with inventory management and catalog. Like everything gets extremely exciting and significantly more powerful as it all kind of comes together. So I agree. Very much looking forward to that conversation December of next year and kind of seeing where you're at. I think it's amazing. What always impresses me, Dan, with these conversations having with you is that it feels like there is no stone left unturned as far as how you analyze what needs to be built for your product. And so being able to jump in and see exactly what needs to happen, but then also looking at what can happen in the future that others aren't looking at. And I think that's a huge piece of what like your specific products bring to the full Redo suite is that it uncovers a lot of additional opportunities for us to just go and solve problems proactively with merchants that oftentimes they might not even know, you know, might not have a full understanding of how painful that actually is having that inventory set on their shelves, but you've done the research and understand exactly how to go address the concern, like identify it first and then address it and then solve it, which is very impressive.
Totally, yeah. And what we're doing, we're just listening to merchants. So remember, this journey started 5 or 6 months ago with just trying to liquidate inventory with recommerce, and it evolved into a return center with refurbishment capability, and that evolved into return center with refurbishment and refulfillment capabilities, and that evolved into merchants saying, hey, just fulfill all our stuff for us. And so it seems like, yes, we are analyzing and turning over every rock, but really that's driven just from what the merchants are asking us to help them solve.
Yep.
So it's a
It's
beautiful
just
thing.
staying tight knit with merchants, having conversations
Yes,
frequently about what they need, and then go finding the solutions for them.
exactly. Yeah, totally.
Okay. Amazing, Dan. Appreciate your time again today. We will connect in a couple months and we'll see where you're at.
Cool. We'll see you. Bye.
Okay. See ya.